Jazzcast Pros.
Hello and welcome back to High Vibe Table Talks. This is your host, Marshawn Hargrave. And if you have ever listened to this podcast and said, you know, I love the content, Marshawn, but I am a product-based business, or I'm thinking about starting a product-based business, and what should I look out for if I'm starting a business where I have a lot of inventory? What if I'm making things and I'm getting into pop-up season? How do I prevent burnout? Well, this is the episode for you. I interview Lauren Barley, who is local to Rochester, an entrepreneur. She owns Light My Candle Company, Light My Candle Co. And so she has a product-based business. And so I ask her all the questions that I personally cannot answer as a service-based business, and we get into all the nitty-gritty. She shares with you what technology she uses, how to find support, how to make sure that you don't order too much, too little of things, how we get into what your profit margin should be. So we did not hold back on all the things. So without further ado, let's hear from Lauren Barley. Welcome to High Vibe Table Talks, the podcast to help you, the cautiously ambitious woman, remove mental barriers and take action now so that you can achieve your high vibe desires. I'm Marshawn, your high vibe curator, cheerleader, and accountability partner. As a wife, a mother, and an entrepreneur who recently quit my job to follow my dreams, I understand why you may be hesitant to throw caution to the wind and take that leap. And I would love to introduce my guest, Lauren Barley from Light My Candle. Welcome to the table, Lauren.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I always like to start the audience off by knowing a little bit about who you are, what your business is, where you're located, and who you serve.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Lauren. I am the proud owner of Light My Candle Co. here in Rochester. And I am a small business. I make candles, wax melts, and other home fragrance products.
Awesome. And why I reached out to you and I'm really excited about this conversation is because you do have a product-based business. Most of the other guests that I have service-based products. So if someone were to say, hey, I want to start a product-based business like yours, what would you tell them? What are some initial tips that you would give them?
I would say to just kind of go for it. You know, making products and something that people love is extremely rewarding and fulfilling. So go for it, but also go for it with intention. What is your purpose of selling these products and who are you trying to sell them to? And be very intentional and very clear about what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Is there a story behind why you decided on candles and wax melts and fragrances?
Yeah, so I love candles, obviously. I'm a self-proclaimed candle snob. And, you know, I love going to the stores in the mall and just smelling all the candles. But I was realizing that my husband would be like, oh, I can't go in there. They make me sneeze, or, you know, while I'm burning them in my home, people would start coughing and things. So I kind of did a little research and found out that the candles that they sell in the stores are not always the healthiest for us. They're filled with a lot of toxins. And I just was like, I don't want to give up my candles, but how can I still get the fragrance without all the trash that's in them? So that's how I started this company, just researching and figuring some things out. And here we are today.
I love that. I love it. And what I love working with entrepreneurs who are heart focused and they saw something that they wanted to fix and they fixed it and now are sharing that with the world. So that's such a beautiful story. And to tangent back to a product-based business, one of the things that I can never really speak on is the upfront cost that goes into having a product-based business. My dad always says there's three things you need in business. It's cash, cash, and cash. If you don't have any of those, then you don't have a business. So how do you handle that, having inventory, especially in the initial startup before you've really sold anything?
Yeah, I started this business, I gave myself kind of a set amount of money, of my own money, and really took the time to price out the products, or I should say the materials, find different sources of where they're coming from, who's cheapest, who can get it here the fastest, and just taking your time and doing that research, and then figuring out the total amount before you purchase anything, right? So then you say, okay, well, that's how much it costs to make, let's say, 10 candles. Would it be cheaper or would it be more expensive to make more candles or less candles? And you kind of just find your sweet spot. Then after you purchase all of your products, you got to sell them, right? You want to make your money back and a little more, right? And then what I did was I took all of that money and I reinvested it for the next round and just kind of used it to snowball, to keep purchasing products and updating my materials and my supplies, and the tools that I use so that I can make candles more efficiently in larger batches. But again, just being very mindful of every penny that you spend, because the goal is, with any business, you want to make money essentially, right? But, you want to do it in a smart way.
Yeah. And what would you say, like, how did you factor your profit margin? So, like, it cost you X amount of dollars to make the candle and you charge, someone coming and buying a candle from you X. How did you determine that profit margin? I see a lot of people undercharge, and that profit margin, they're like, oh, I can make 5%. It's like, you need to be making a lot more than that.
Right. I'm going to be honest. When I first started out, I did the same thing. I undercharged. I started out with lower prices. And like you said, after spending all the time and all the money, you're like, I need to be charging more. As hard as that was to kind of increase the price, it was necessary just because I used high quality supplies. They cost money. The fragrance oils that I use are very specific. They're all phthalate free, Prop 65 certified. So they are kind of pricey just to have the oils. So, after you spend all that time, you want to make sure that your profit margins make sense for your business, and also do your research and figure out what other candle companies or whatever the product is, compare it to other people and see if you're, in the right spot. Are you overcharging or undercharging?
Yeah, I think price, especially when you're first starting out, can feel like a really easy place to be. Well, if I'm the cheapest, people will buy my stuff.
Right.
And that can be a hole that is hard to dig ourselves out of, because just like you said, it's hard to raise your pricing. It's so interesting working with all the entrepreneurs that I do, like, price struggles are such a common occurrence, no matter what you're selling, what you're doing. So if you're struggling with price or have to increase your pricing, just hear it from other, entrepreneurs. We've been there, we've done that.
Right.
We've all had to dig ourselves out of it.
It is hard, but again, you have to go back to, why am I doing this, right? Like, I'm not here to sell those cheap candles with all those cheap materials and toxins and things like that. I'm making a high quality product, right? It stands on its worth, and it unfortunately, the prices did have to go up, but it was for good reason. It was to continue the quality of the product.
Yep. And it wasn't because you were trying to, there wasn't greed involved. It's like, no, this, like you said, you can stand on the product, which that at the end of the day is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
How do you manage keeping inventory on hand? I want to get into in a little bit. We're coming up upon festival season, pop-up shops. It's a very busy time for, just in Rochester, we have the Lilac Festival right now, Cornhill, Park Ave Festival, and those are just like the big ones. How do you manage inventory on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it's definitely a learning, curve, trial and error. What I do is I try to keep very good inventory numbers. So, for example, if I were to go to a market and I bring, a huge batch of candles, put them out, sell them, right? And then I go home, I need to know what I sold. Right. And then I need to know how many of them I sold and what size of each candle that I sold. So just having a system in place to keep track of all of those things is key. Like, you have to do it, especially with a product-based business, because what happens is you say, oh, I feel like I sold a lot of lavender candles today, right? But then when you go back and you check your numbers, you realize maybe you only sold one or two. And then really, some other scent flew off the shelves and you didn't even realize it. So Now I'm here buying all this more supplies for lavender when I really don't need them. Do you know what I mean? So it's really important to keep track of your numbers and what you're selling, and look at the reports before the event, after the event, and see what's selling. I use this program called Crafty Base. If you are a maker out there, I would highly recommend Crafty Base. I'm not sponsored by them, but I highly recommend Crafty Base. It's a little intense to get started, but once you have everything set up and programmed, it is so helpful. Are you familiar with it? Should I go into
I'm
that
not.
more?
No. Yeah.
Okay. So the program is basically designed for you to input all of your materials. So for me, that would be the wax. How much wax do I have on hand? How much of a certain fragrance oil do I have? How many wicks do I have in stock? And so on and so forth. And then once all your materials are in, you can create your products. So what products do I need, or what materials do I need to make this one candle? And then every time you sell that candle, it will take it out of your inventory. It will also calculate the cost associated with each item that you spend. And then it creates all these reports that you can look at to help you make your decisions. I am a big math nerd, so I love looking at the numbers and the data. And I use that to drive a lot of my decisions.
Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming a program like that is not free.
No, you can start with a free trial, but eventually, you just have to make that investment for your business. And there's different levels for programs like that, but it's definitely worth the investment.
Yeah, definitely something you recommend. And I talk a lot about like the sales part of the process and how your CRM is like your Bible. And same thing, like it takes a while to get it to where it's like frictionless as it functions.
Right.
But once you have it to that place, it is so crucial to your business.
It really is. It really is. And again, with a product-based business, it's very easy to get passionate about what you're selling and having all these connections to your product, but it's also a business. So you have to know your numbers like through and through.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, making decisions based off of data is so crucial. So I have one more practical question and then a mindset question. And so the practical question is, like I said, it is pop-up festival season. So it's a very busy time for a business like yours. How do you know which ones to go to, which ones to apply for? Like, how do you prep for that? How do you build a table? Like, what does that process look like for you?
Yeah, market season, I always say it's not for the faint of heart. It looks like we're just out there and it's just, we just sit there all day, right? But there's so much prep work that goes into just getting the table up and running. You asked about finding the right markets. Again, that's just trial and error. A market that does well for my product might not do so well for another product. So it's really knowing your audience, the people who kind of stand your product and where they shop, and just applying for a bunch of things and seeing what works. I did that for my first couple years and it was tough, but then you make your decisions based on the data and then you don't apply for all the things. You just target where you want to go. As far as preparing for them, like I said, I love looking at data and spreadsheets are really fun for me. So, and then again, I'm a teacher also by trade. I don't know if we mentioned this yet, but I am also a high school math teacher. So it's just kind of like my group to do these things. And I plan. That's part of my day job is planning. So for example, if I know that I have like a really huge event coming up, I will plan for it minimum like a month ahead of time because I still have to pour all the candles, right? Put all the labels on, do all the inventory checks and all of those things, pack them up, put them in the cart. Like it's a whole thing. But I would recommend people to definitely plan early. Do not, like it is the worst feeling in the world. And I know this because I've done it, to stay up the night before an event trying to get ready for the event. It's the worst because then you have to also like be awake and smiling with people all day the next day. So give yourself that space to have a good night's sleep And yeah, preparation is the key.
And probably build in space after too. Like I've done a couple festivals and I'm an extrovert, and still by the end of the 12 hours, I'm like, nobody talk to me. I need a glass of wine
Oh yeah.
and a book. Like
Yeah.
leave me alone.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I say this too. Yes, I can spend, the month before, the week before, whatever, preparing for this event. But like the rest of my life doesn't stop just because I have all this prep work to do. So again, you have to prep for the event. You have to make sure that, this kid is ready for the week. The other kid's ready for the week. What's the husband got going on this week? What's going on at work this week? Like it's a lot of coordination. Definitely helps to have people to help you with all the life things. My husband is fantastic. He has been really good about like having dinner ready when I come home from these events, because he knows like you're there all day. Sometimes you don't get to eat. Sometimes you don't get to use the bathroom. You know what I mean? So he's awesome like that. Having help definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, that's amazing. And as women, I think a lot of times we can struggle to ask for help, even if we have people in our lives that are super supportive, like making sure we vocalize, like, it would be really nice if I had dinner at home, or like,
Yeah.
here's what I have going on. How can we make sure everybody gets to where they need to be and everybody has everything they need?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, that just comes from the planning and communicating. And if you're like me, you put it on a calendar and you have it mapped out, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So that leads into my next question around burnout. Were there seasons where you felt that? How did you? I think communication and planning is probably a piece of preventing that, but
Yeah.
tell us about any burnout in your business.
So burnout is real. It definitely happened to me. I feel like I'm kind of transitioning out of a phase of burnout. And like you said, I'm slowly and surely definitely learning how to say no, or, hey, I need help with this, because I tried to do it, by myself for a long time. And it's just getting to the point where that's not feasible anymore. It just doesn't make sense to do it by myself. So yeah, I would say, seasons of burnout are real, but again, preparing, that this is coming up, right? Start planning ahead of time. That 2 weeks before, when you're just kind of, I don't really have anything to do today, do something, right? Get your bags prepped, pack up your stuff that you're like your tablecloths and stuff, have them packed and put them to the corner so that they're just ready to go. Like every little thing helps, having a schedule, things like that.
So it's interesting that we talk about this, because a couple weeks ago I had a woman on and we were talking about SOPs and how to document all the procedures that you do. Like if something were to happen to you today, how would your business run? And so thinking about having a list or documentation of I feel like I don't have anything. Well, let me refer to this list to see if there's anything on it I can do. Do you have things like that in place?
I have some of them, not to the level that I would love it to be, but we're working on it. I'm working on it. I do have something when I'm actually making the products. It's called a manufacturer. It's from Crafty Base, and you can just print it out and write a list of everything that needs to get done before this product can go on the shelf, right? So did you weigh out this much wax? Did you put the label on the jar? Did you put the label, underneath the jar? And it's just a good way to, like you said, have it a list of everything that you need to do, sign off on it, put a date on it, right? When do these products need to be fulfilled by? So again, just all the systems make a world of difference.
Yeah. Have you outsourced anything to this point, or do you have any employees? Do you have any paid help that's not husband?
No, I don't. Not yet. Not yet is what I will say. But I am working towards that very soon.
Yeah. That's exciting. Yeah. Really exciting.
Yeah. It's about that time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
As Lizzo said.
For sure. For sure.
So when did you open the business?
I started in 2018, pre-pandemic. And I kind of started it just like a side hustle, I guess you could say. But very quickly, like I fell in love with the whole process of it. And I was very quickly like, no, this is my second job. Like I'm going full on with this. Yeah. So, nights after work, weekends, when I can, and it's kind of just snowballed into this whole ordeal.
Yeah.
It's really
Yep.
wild.
It's funny to look back and see what you thought it would be like 6 years ago versus what it is now. Good, bad, indifferent, like all the things. And if you were to walk into a room with 2018 Lauren, who's either like just about to get started or has just started, what would you say to that person?
That is a really good question. I think this is a question that I kind of struggle with because, like you said, there's good times and there's bad times. But I think that I would tell 2018 Lauren to keep going. Just keep going. Understand that, like, you're going to make mistakes, right? You might even spend too much money that you don't need to spend, but that's part of it. You get excited. But just remember why you are doing this. Like, what is the purpose for all of this? All the time that you're taking up, like all the resources, why are you doing this? I definitely tell her to take a few more risks. Just go for it. Don't be so afraid. And I would tell her to have fun and just build connections, like connect with people. That's really one of the most beautiful parts of this is I get to meet so many cool people.
Yeah.
Like you.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I say about this podcast. I'm like, I get to talk to the coolest people doing the coolest things like every day, and Rochester's such an interesting community of entrepreneurs. Like it really has a deep-seated heart in entrepreneurship. And it's just really cool to see so many people who've just gone for it,
Yeah. Yeah. It's really inspiring, to be honest.
Yeah. Lauren, are you ready for the lightning round questions?
Okay, I'm ready.
What is a must-read book?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't read a lot of books. Don't tell anybody. I don't read a lot of books, but I am branching out into this world of something new I've learned about called financial therapy. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like therapy, but for your finances. So I'm dipping my toes into that realm. So anything on that.
Is it like Dave Ramsey or is it like mindset stuff?
Mindset stuff, right? And like, finances are very emotional, right? And like, where do those feelings come from? So just unpacking all of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to hear more about that, like as you're going through it. My relationship with money has taken a lot of ups and downs over the past 10 years. So I love talking about that stuff. That's really cool. What does creativity mean to you?
Creativity is freedom. It's just freedom to be who you are, express yourself the way you want, and just be free, not to be locked in.
Yeah. And it's cool seeing like, because you obviously have a very like math centric brain.
I do.
And to see like you have found this creative outlet where you get to like brand your candles and scent them and do tables and markets and like have that release of the creative side is really cool.
It is. It is. I love it. But if you also notice my brand is like very like black and white, like we keep it simple, but I think that's also beautiful. So
yeah. I have more of a math brain. My one sister is very like creative, very existential. And so I say I'm the black and white and she's my lime green.
Oh, that's deep. That's deep.
What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
It came from a Facebook post, I believe. And it was the phrase, I don't know if you've heard this, but it's like, I can do anything, but I can't do everything. Right. So it's just like, yeah, you can go do all the things, but what's that going to get you? You're going to burn out. So what do you want to do? Like pick a thing and do it well and ask for help when you need it. I'm still learning.
I like that a lot.
Still learning.
Yeah. The universe likes us to learn lessons over and over and keep reminding us.
Yep.
What is something that's on your bucket list?
I would really love to go visit Japan one day. I think it's really cool. It's a really cool culture. They're like current Japanese culture, like the modern one, and also like the ancient culture. I think it's really cool. I'd love to go there one day.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll breathe that into existence for you. Last question is, it's a little bit of like a self-brag. What is the coolest shit you've done in the last year or are currently working on?
I recently did a thing. Again, take the risk, girl. Just do it. Like I said, I'm a teacher, a high school teacher, but I recently just put in a leave of absence for my job so that I can pursue my business full time.
Yay!
Yes. So that's happening, and we'll see what goes from there, right? But we took the step. We took the leap. So
yes. My favorite like smushed together word is TerrorCitement. It's terrifying and exciting. And I feel like I just got all the vibes of like, I'm TerrorCited. TerrorCitement. That is spot on for how I feel. It's like I say I'm spiraling between fear and excitement. Like, what am I doing? This is so fun. What am I doing? This is so fun. TerrorCitement. That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm working through right now. When I have merch one day, it's just going to be I'm TerrorCited or something like that.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. And everybody who's like been in your seat understands that feeling so much, whether they are a product-based business or like taking that leap is
scary. It's scary, but I don't know. I think it was maybe like Will Smith or someone. Again, I'm on the internet all the time, but he was equating that feeling to like jumping out of a plane, right? Like you're on the edge and you can like stay here scared forever, or you can just fall and just free fall into it and you're going to be okay. Like it might be scary at first, but then you'll kind of ease into that groove and learn to love it. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
Awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
So for the audience, where can they find you?
I am selling online currently. My website is www.lightmycandleco.com. And if you're in Rochester, I'm also in a couple of different boutiques around town. Women of Color New York, which is a collective of 10 women of color doing business all under one roof. Park Lee on Park Ave, Unreliable Narrator in the Village Gate. And there's a lot of other places. You got to look on my website for the whole list.
Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely put your website and everything in the show notes. You do have a pretty active Instagram too, right?
Yeah, I try to be active on Instagram. Again, life juggling, it sometimes takes the back seat. But yes, I love Instagram. I think social media is really cool to connect with people all over the world. So check out my Instagram at Light My Candle Co.
How incredible was that conversation? Lauren is just a beautiful light. And I don't, no pun intended with Light My Candle Co., but she just, gave us everything. So thank you, Lauren. Make sure you check out her Instagram, her website. Her candles are incredible. They smell amazing. And next week's episode launches season 5, which is so exciting. So in season 5, it is mastering the mindset. So season 4 is all about tangible things that you can do and really tactical aspects of running a business. And season 5, we get into the mindset because they are both so necessary when building a business. So I have really cool interviews lined up. Next week's episode is actually kind of cool because I don't know if you've ever seen the Vogue questions where Vogue goes into celebrities' houses and like interviews them as they walk around their house. Elise Myers, who's a favorite content creator of mine, did it where she answered those questions as if Vogue was interviewing her. And I took those questions and answered them myself. So it's a little bit of a get to know me, some mindset stuff about entrepreneurship, and just overall a fun episode. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the podcast if you don't already, or share this past episode with someone who maybe wants to start a product-based business. I'm sure they would love to hear it. Until next time, remember that big dreams and small steps will transform your life.